Hello, this is the 2024 LEGO Star Wars Desert Skiff and Sarlacc Pit set. Comes with 558 pieces. I bought it for its retail price of $80 US. It comes with 5 regular minifigures, 1 special edition 25th anniversary minifigure, a special editioned up version of Sarlacc Pit, and of course the Skiff. And we're going to look at the Skiff first. I personally like the look of this. I think that it's a pretty efficient build, doesn't waste a lot of pieces, has a nice amount of detail on it, a little bit of greebling around there. The choice of the dark tan color, I'm okay with. You could have done this, or they could have done this in just a regular brown, but I think this is a more interesting look, and it just is basically inspired by the weathered look and the dusty look of the actual vehicle as it was depicted. And it kind of depends on the lighting, which is more correct. I think that more people expect the brown because more models have been done in brown, but I'm okay with this color scheme and I like the shaping. It's not oversized, but for its size, it has plenty of room to move minifigures around, and it has some tiled off space, plenty of tiled off space, plus it has some studs on there as well to actually put the minifigures, including one back here. Unfortunately, there's not a driver, so you'd have to use Lando to be the driver back there. But overall, this setup I think is pretty good. You've got the single fence section that can be rotated out, and then underneath here the plank is able to be extended or fully retracted, and that's a pretty smooth thing, doesn't get caught up. And it has these clear pieces underneath to give it some elevation off the ground. That little bit of the nose right there is the one thing that bugs me about the shape, but from most normal angles you don't see that, but it's definitely a good candidate for some modifications. It's too bad this stack of clear pieces is not enough to really have the Skiff being above the Sarlacc pit here. Technically, the end of the plank just goes over. I think there's a 1 plate bit of clearance right underneath there, so it goes right over the edge, but then the beak sticks way up. I mean, the beak, when you close it up, you can see it. It's pretty much level with the shoulder of the Skiff there. So the pit doesn't really appear and feel like a pit in this case. It sticks up. This ends up looking more like a creature that has emerged from the sand and kind of pushed some sand. It created a little mound of sand around it, as opposed to an actual pit. So it's not accurate to the movie in that way. And that's not the most important thing. It's not the end of the world. It is just a play set after all, but it is something worth calling out. When I first saw the official pictures of this, I really had trouble getting past the fact that it's a mound of sand as opposed to a pit, but after building it, it doesn't bother me nearly as much. I really don't like the vertical surfaces here. Those really they just don't make sense to me. All the smooth stuff works pretty well, and especially the inner actual pit section works for me because of the layering here of the different colors, and the black down at the base really does give it a feel of there being a pit, at least in the middle of this. Now, it's not round, obviously, it's more oval, which is a little bit awkward. But again, accuracy, I don't feel is the most important thing here, given that this is presented as primarily a play set. But yeah, for anybody who is a fan of the movie and wants that movie accuracy, which they can get, they can do accuracy and play compatibility at the same time, I think, and they just kind of missed that here. This has 2 action features. You can move these and you can move these, and that kind of does nothing. To me, that's kind of an empty, almost useless action feature because it can't really hold the figure in place. I wish that these had been hooked up to the jaws instead, to the beak, so that you could catch a figure and then have a tug of war, where a figure tries to fight out or something like that. Instead, you just have to manually move these, and that's a little bit of a letdown. But again, all this in here just to me feels much better than I was expecting. I don't like what Lucas did with the beak, but again, it's a Lucas thing. It's not a Lego thing. Overall, this build misses a lot if you're going for accuracy. As a toy, it's fine, but I think that it's overbuilt. It does not have any connections, by the way. People were wondering about that in advance. If this was all about connecting to another set and there are no Technic pinholes or axle holes or anything, I think this was just designed on its own to be just like this. Looking at figures, after going back and looking at the scene, I think that we've got some really good stuff going on here, especially with Luke. This is easily the most accurate LEGO has ever done a Return of the Jedi Luke from any scene whatsoever. If you think that he's supposed to have a black hand or black glove here, go back and watch the scene again. So many people are off about that. This is really good. The hairpiece is really good. The use of dark tan is questionable. all toy companies have gone back and forth between tan and dark tan and brown. You know, he had a very dirty blonde hair that got darker, I think, or was darker in Jedi by here, but I think brown would have been a bad choice just overall. I think that look is excellent. The use of gray there so that it's not just all black on black is also, as far as I can see, correct or better than going black on black. This version of Han is actually pretty good as well. I like the facial expression there. That's a useful one. If we look underneath here, we get alternate expressions for both of these. You know, it's still a half squint right there, which is really, really useful for when you're saying Boba Fett where. Speaking of Boba Fett and accuracy, oops. Yeah, it's the wrong Boba Fett. Just plain and simply, it's the wrong Boba Fett. It's an Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett. Lego's never been 100% accurate with their Boba Fett figure, and that's fine, but this is 100% an Empire Strikes Back one. The differences are a little bit subtle. It depends on how much of a nerd you are, how much of a Star Wars nerd you are, whether that matters to you. A lot of folks like to say, well, kids won't care. And plenty of kids do care about details, you know, so that's not the right direction to go with that. I don't think it's the end of the world. It's very much a first world problem, but as Lego pushes their premium products higher and higher and higher in price and in market positioning, and as they actively try to get more adult and collector focused buyers of these toy sets, even though it's made as a play set, they try to get more, you know, higher end buyers of these play sets. They need to consider that. You need to consider that you need to give more respect to folks who are more nerdy about these things. Now, the inclusion of a specialized head is wonderful. That's great. And the quality of what is here is very good. This is a very good, well-produced Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett, in my opinion, with the exception of a total lack of the cloth piece. They easily could have included one of those. Chewie is Chewie. It took me years to get used to the second generation version of him, but I like it. I like it plenty now. The Skiff guard Lando there looks excellent. That is a fantastic figure. The weapon is done well. Maybe I got the angle off just a little bit there, but yeah, that's done quite nicely. It could use more detail, sure, but what's there I think is very, very good. And then on the right, the 25th anniversary, first ever full molded up Nien Nunb. Yeah, he looks pretty good too. The red print for the shirt is a little bit lacking in opacity. Could have been a little bit brighter, but otherwise pretty good. You know, could have used some printing around the side, especially on the legs, I think, but the lack of it doesn't hurt that much. Obviously, there's no alternate face for him here, but the dual molding works out nicely. And, you know, hopefully we'll get more Celestins in the future that use this mold so they can, you know, get more profit off of it because they deserve it, because it's a good piece. There's the alternate face for Lando. There's the main face. Both of those work well for me. Actually, Jang, it's 9 Num because of the number 9. It's just rearranged. I know, I always call him Nien Num. It's because of the way it's spelled. And this is the stand for him. All of the 25th anniversary ones get the same stand. These are the leftover and extra pieces and the wrong colored pieces. What? Yep, I had to do a couple substitutions because those are supposed to be dark tan and they're not. They're also not regular tan. They are medium tan, or whatever that color is going to be called. It's actually a new color for 2024, but I don't know if this is actually it. This might just be a mistake in the resin mix, but it's a lucky mistake because it gives me a little preview of where we're going with that new color. Something like that. But in this case, it was just a mistake. The parts are supposed to be dark tan. Again, I paid $80 US for this. It's 80 euros, 70 pounds UK, or $100 Canadian, which sounds ridiculous. It's actually like $72 US, and we both have taxes and all. But no matter what, this feels overpriced to me. I would like I already did my thoughts about this. I tried to calculate it out and everything, and I came to $60 in 2024 with the Star Wars tax, with the Disney tax, with the inflation, all those things. Whatever you want to call it, I'm willing to give this $60, and I feel like I'm being generous there. Ideally, in an ideal world, I would love for this to be like 45, but again, I'm trying to be realistic, and I'm saying 60 is about where I'm at with it. The quality of everything that is here for what it is very, very good. I'm happy with that. Completely satisfied with the Skiff. Love some of the figures. Don't love the fact that this is the incorrect Boba Fett. They easily could have taken a bunch of pieces out of this, in my opinion, to get, Return of the Jedi specific, correct prints for Boba Fett, because ultimately, though I dislike this much less than I originally thought, I like much less, still, it's a whole lot of stuff. It's a whole lot of pieces. It doesn't waste a lot of pieces. It's not a wasteful build. It's fairly hollow inside of there and everything. But just, those who know. Lego sets the prices for sets before the sets are designed. And then the designer has to build to that budget. And the designer chose to put parts into here. They have to take budget away if they want to do prints, if they want to do additional accessories, additional molds. All those things have their own value. And they decided to put a bunch of budget into this thing. And I just feel like that was a poor allocation, relatively speaking, because ultimately this doesn't do a lot. These move back and forth. That's it. That's your action feature. And then this just opens and closes manually. It's fine it opens and closes manually, but there's just so much stuff here that doesn't add that much to the play value or to the display value, because it's weird. If you're going for a nice display, it's weird to have this pimple that sticks up out of the desert. It doesn't bring that much accuracy other than just that little bit right there. The darkness and the layering is nice, but all in all, yeah, I just wanted it to be cheaper, and I wish it had been designed differently and that the budget had been spent differently. And this is a little bit embarrassing, but not the end of the world. Rest of the stuff, pretty good. Love this. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you soon.